Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and a very good morning to all of you. I'm Iman Hakim ROSDAN, and my teammates will be presenting regarding the manufacturing process that we chose for screws and nuts from the company called WÜRTH. So I'm from Group 2, will be presenting, so let's get started. So the company that we chose is called WÜRTH. They are from Germany and the headquarters is at Kaiserslautern. And they produce screws and nuts, and they are also an international supplier. So here are some of the example products. I'm Iman Hakim ROSDAN. I will be presenting regarding the cold forming and hot forming process. What is cold forming? Cold forming is a technique. It's a forging technique they used to shape metal materials near the room temperature, which is 25 degrees Celsius. So let's watch this video.
Manufacture complex precision and multifunctional parts consisting of up to 6 forming stages.
These are some of the advantageous cold forming process, which are optimal use of materials, very high output, high accuracy, dimensional and surface quality, and the last one is increase the strength properties through strength hardening process. So what is hot forming process? Hot forming process is a metal shaping for the malleable metal parts, and it undergoes 75% of its melting temperature. It is for the larger diameters and larger pieces like MEM560 screws, and approximately for the 300 millimeters. And it doesn't undergo any strain hardening processes. Then, what is the advantages for the hot forming processes? The first one is it enables the production for the complicated geometries. The second one, low production runs, and the last one, large diameters and length products will be produced.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Now I will be presenting my part, which is thread production for screws. In this company, the main method that they use to make threading is thread rolling process. So in thread rolling, screw is rolled between two rolling dies, which is the running dies and the fixed dies. The screw is moving in the same axis as the running dies, and it is performed through cold working. This is an example video of thread rolling. So next is the other threading method that this company use. Firstly is the plunge cutting. In plunge cutting, the machine tools is used to hold the workpiece together in place without being actually displaced. The tool rolls will then rotate together with the workpiece at the same speed. Most accurate thread pitch can be easily produced. This is the metal workpiece that is going to be threading, and this is the grooving tool that is used to cut the thread. So next is the thread cutting method, which usually is used with tap and die set. A cylindrical metal rod is clamped tightly by the bench vise. The rod is then placed in the middle of the die to be applied some pressure downward manually. Backward turn must be applied once every rotation. This step is crucial to break the metal chip that is formed. This is the bench vise, and it is used to clamp the metal rod here. And this is the die to cut the thread. So as for the female thread, the taper tab is used to cut the thread. This is an example of female thread that has been done on a metal workpiece by using the taper tab. And lastly is continuous method, where roller axis is inclined by the pitch angle to produce the thread pitch. Axial force is applied to the workpiece to move by one thread pitch in axial direction while rotating. This method is suitable to produce screws with an overlaying threads. So the advantage of thread rolling compared to thread cutting, it is suitable for mass production, especially in this company where they have a high daily demand from the user or consumer. Next is the improved material usage, and the threads produced are tougher where it doesn't easily bend or defected. So that is all from me. Thank you and Assalamualaikum.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I'm IRFAN HAZWAN. Today I will present the heat treatment process, which is the process needs to create the screw on nuts. Okay, we go to the first step. Okay, the first step is the hardening process. In the hardening process, the screw is heated to a specific temperature, among other things, in dependence on its carbon content, and kept at this temperature for a long period. This step will change the microstructure of the metal. A great increase in hardiness is achieved through the subsequent quenching. For example, water, oil, etc. Okay. We go to the next step, which is the annealing process. In the annealing process, the material must be heated up again to a minimum temperature specified in a standard. In order to reduce the distortions in the microstructure, it is true that these measures reduce the hardness that was reached beforehand, but this is much higher than the values of the untreated material, but greater ductility is achieved. This procedure is important for the manufacturer to make screws that satisfy the requirements of users. Okay, next step is the case hardening. In case hardening, the steels are heated and kept for a long time in atmosphere that keep off carbon, for example methane. The carbon diffuses into the surface zones, and in this way increases the local carbon content. This process is known as the carburization. Finally, the material is quenched, and in this way hardened in the surface zones. Okay, this has the advantage that the surface is very hard, but sufficient ductility remains in the core of the screw. Okay, next step, stress relief annealing. Okay, in stress relief annealing, the material is heating to approximate 600 degrees Celsius and maintaining this temperature for a long period. The strain hardening created on cold forming can be reversed by stress relief annealing. This is particularly important for screws in strain classes 4.6 and 5.6 because here there has to be a large elongation of the screw. Okay, for the last step, we go to the tempering process. In tempering, tempering is the thermal treatment of high strength, which is the high strength component, which is the strength is the above 1000 megapascal or hardness above 320 HV with the aim to minimize the risk of hydrogen embrittlement. Tempering must be carried out at the latest 4 hours after the conclusion of the galvanic surface treatment. The minimum temperature depends on the strain classes or on the materials that are used. Okay, that's all from me. Thank you.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum. I'm IRFAN RUSYAIDI bin AMIRUDIN, and with me I will be explaining our product's quality assurance. First, we have initial sample testing, where we tested our nut and screw initial sample under a series of tests. One of the tests is a mechanical property test, and we have also Sharpie impact test for toughness. Next, we have incoming good inspection, where we take our raw samples and we will inspect it. After that, we will be able to make sure that there is no quality issues that will arise during pre-production. Next, we have complaint processing. Okay, here we will take our customer's complaint sample and give it to our complaint officer. Then he will finish the complaint investigation, and he will be provide a a clear conclusion to the rest of the team and also to the customer. Okay, after that, finally, we have new product testing where the newly produced products are tested again to make sure that the quality is aligned with our customers' need. And this is also to make sure that our customer have a great user experience. Okay, for material, what we will be using is stainless steel A4, which have a similar tensile strength to an 8.8 grade alloy. Okay, it will have an 800 megapascal tensile strength and with a ratio of 0.8. Thank you. That's all from me.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Iman bin RUSDI. I would like to present on discussion about our products which are nuts and screws. So first of all, I would like to suggest the manufacturing process which is thread cutting. So thread cutting is an operation performed on lathe to produce threads by using a tool whose shape will be the same as that of thread. While thread rolling is a type of threading process which involves deforming a metal stock by rolling it through dies. In thread cutting, cut threads have a grain flow pattern that remains parallel to the part axis, weakening the thread strength in the longitudinal axis. The thread will typically fail at grain boundaries, which tend to be weaker than the grain itself. While in thread rolling, with rolled threads, the grain flows in a transverse direction, providing resistance to failure where these forces are being exerted across the grain. Surface imperfections that result from thread cutting can become the imitation points for fatigue failure. In thread rolling, the rolling process increases the cold work and burnishes roots and flanks. These improve fatigue resistance as well as the surface finish and produces a more consistent thread form. The causes that cause screws or nuts loosening or falling apart: number 1 is frequent jerking, number 2, sloppy tightening, number 3, sudden impact, and 4, expansion caused by heat. So the solutions or ways that company have taken to curb the problems is making lock nuts. There are 2 nuts available which are wedge lock nuts and also wheel lock nuts. So the first advantage of wedge lock nuts is it will be delivered pre-assembled. Second, the reduction of components. Third, handling advantages in hard to reach places. And lastly, minimizes the assembly time and assembly cost. The advantage of wheel lock nuts is simple, safe, fast installation even for non-specialist users. Second, preserves surfaces. Third, permanent fixation and correct positioning of the wedge lock washers. And lastly, reusable without loss of quality. Other products that can be produced using the same method are bolts, electrical contacts, and rivets. For bolts, the term bolt is usually used for a fastener which has only part of its shaft threaded. The unthreaded part of a bolt shaft is called the shank. Electrical contacts. An electrical contact is an electrically controlled switch that completes or interrupts a circuit affecting an electrical current. Rivets. A rivet is a mechanical fastener composed of a head on one end and a cylindrical stem on another called the tail, which has appearance of a metal pin. That's all for me. Thank you.
So here are some of the online meetings that we did through Google Meets with our members, and here are some of the references that we used throughout the desktop research regarding our company and products.
It's over? Sad sigh. Anybody know if there's a season 2?